Developing story, which centers around one of the biggest question marks that hangs over the NBA. So we're 10 months into the investigation into Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers, and cap circumvention, and it's been a lengthy one. So what you're looking at here is just the timeline. So let's go back. September 3rd, 2025. That is when the NBA announced it would be investigating allegations of cap circumvention with the Clippers and Leonard that surrounded a sponsorship deal with the now bankrupt Green Banking Company Aspiration. Fast forward a full NBA season later, and the Clippers, they have agreed to trade Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors. That was what Shams reported back on June 30th, but less than 2 weeks after that, the teams announced that the trade would be on hold until the league completed the investigation. And then a week after that, that is when Commissioner Adam Silver said that he wanted the investigation completed before the start of the 2026-2027 season, and that is where we begin now that we're all caught up. I'm joined by a quartet of our senior writers, Baxter Holmes, Ramona Shelburne, Mark Spears, and Vincent Goodwill. I want to start with you, Baxter, here because you have some lengthy new reporting on up to the minute what is happening with this investigation. So let's just start there with the timeline. How much longer could this continue on?
Well, it could go well into 2027, and part of that is because if you look at the collective bargaining agreement, it basically lays out the process for this, which could include arbitration. It could also include an appeals panel. There's several different parties that are coming to the table. It's not as simple as the NBA basically finding evidence and rendering punishment or not. There's a lot of different steps that have to play out from here and there, or from now until then. And different sources I've talked to have said, given all those steps, they have a hard time seeing any full resolution being reached before the start of the season.
Okay, so if full resolution, Ramona, is not reached before the start of the season and could continue into next calendar year, does that open up the possibility that Kawhi Leonard could be on the Clippers to start the season?
Yes. I mean, it sounds crazy after a trade like this, but this was the Toronto Raptors being given a choice of, are you willing to assume the risks of something happening with Kawhi Leonard after the investigation is completed? And they are not willing to assume those risks. And so if they're not, then we get to the end of the summer and there's not a resolution here, and there's nobody from the NBA who could say with 100% certainty that there won't be any fallout for Kawhi Leonard specifically. Then it's up to the Raptors. And I understand that because we just saw what happened with the Miami Heat and Terry Rozier. The NBA had an investigation. A couple of people have pointed me to this very specifically. They had an investigation into Rozier. They didn't find anything. And then a year later, after the Heat had traded for him, they get stuck with a player who's now out of the league, and they given up draft compensation, and settled that out of court. So I can see a world in which Kawhi Leonard is back on the Clippers if this trade doesn't go through, and the Clippers, quite frankly, are fine with that. Now, they did the trade. They like Brandon Ingram, but they like Kawhi Leonard too. This only happened because they weren't really willing to extend him.
I cannot remember a situation, Mark Spears, and you have covered the NBA much longer than I have, that has ever resulted in something quite like this. This feels very unprecedented.
Yeah, and then the guy kind of stuck in the middle was like all-star Brandon Ingram.
Sure.
He and Glorilla trying to figure this out right now. Like, are we going to be in Toronto, or are we going to be in LA? And I talked briefly with Rich Paul, and he's like, it's a business. Brandon knows it's a business. He's fine either way. He's also making $40 million.
That helps.
So this is like, a first world problem, but he said Brandon's in a good headspace. Either way, I would assume he might be upset, but according to Rich, he's good.
Adam Silver's in a real trick bag here because he has to make a decision on the investigation, but also look steps ahead on what arbitration could look like if there are penalties levied on Steve Ballmer. And we know Steve Ballmer can lawyer up as well as anybody. So you have to take not just the steps of the evidence, but also protect the league and their interest in this. And just this is so unprecedented, Malika and everyone else. A top 30 player, a two-time finals MVP who's still pretty much effective, tilting the balance of possibly the Eastern Conference if he goes to Toronto or if he stays with the Clippers.
The thing that I would emphasize here is the seriousness of the charge of salary cap circumvention.
Okay.
You know, I think some people might hear that and think that this is not that big of a deal, but the salary cap is really what governs competitive balance and fairness across the league. It's as serious as a charge as you can levy against an NBA team. So the NBA is going to look at this very carefully because that's not something that it's not a parking ticket.
Yeah.
You can't just approach that kind of gingerly. And the Clippers are certainly, they've maintained their innocence from the very beginning that they did not funnel money to Kawhi Leonard through aspiration. And sources I've talked to have said they're motivated to clear their name however long this takes.
Okay, and by the way, this timeline isn't necessarily determined by the NBA. It's determined by how long it takes to gather the evidence that the outside law firm deems appropriate to see this to completion, right, Ramona? That's what we're looking at here.
Well, if you're the NBA and you've taken this long, you need to get it right because there's a legal challenge that the Clippers can have, but also the rest of the league, which is what Baxter's point. The rest of the league is going to want to see this report. One way or the other, they're going to want to read it. But does Steve Ballmer want them to see the rest? These are all things that are going to need to be arbitrated or at least discussed between the league and the Clippers before we even get to a resolution of whether or not Kawhi Leonard has any penalties on it.
Right, and this is something that's really chewy. There's a lot of very dense information here that we're working our way through, and I understand that it's the middle of July, but at the end of the day, why we started our show here is because there is a real possibility that Kawhi Leonard and the trade with the Toronto Raptors, that is completely in flux and it may not go through. So I want to bring in our NBA analyst, Kendrick Perkins here. Perk, when you're looking at that fact, you've played in the NBA, you've analyzed it for many years. I've never seen something quite like this. How could this process, then the way it plays out, maybe shape the way that this season starts?
Well, look, let me say this. If I'm the Toronto Raptors, I'm finding a way to get up out of this deal. I'm finding a way to back out. I want out. I don't want to even be involved with this no more. I don't even want to think about having Kawhi Leonard in a uniform because now all of a sudden, say if this lingers on and it get closer to the season, and I understand Rich Paul is talking about Brandon Ingram understands it's a business, but we're talking about real human beings here. We're talking about Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick, who was a crucial part of the Raptors' success last year, far as them being relevant again and making it to the postseason. If I'm the Raptors, I want to call this trade off. I want to call my two key rotation guys back in, and I want to start healing those wounds right now so that when I get to training camp, I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to worry about if a guy's going to be disgruntled. We saw the effect when it happened to Dalton Connect with the Los Angeles Lakers. He wasn't right when he hasn't been right since.
Right. So we have four of the most plugged in reporters on the NBA. Has anyone heard anything to that effect that the Raptors, is there a timeline here that the Raptors are going to say, no, we are out, this can't continue into the season? Because it's not the NBA that's going to say that. It would have to be one of the teams. Has anyone heard anything to that effect?
I haven't heard them trying to back out. I think the discussion is more of a league-wide discussion, which is when you have a trade that gets held up, whether it's a failed physical or something like this on the back, you can modify the trade.
So let me ask you this then. If you are Mark Spears, the Golden State Warriors, or the Miami Heat, or one of these teams that did not get LeBron James, would you be willing, if this trade doesn't go through, to say, you know what, we would be willing to take that risk?
Brandon Ingram is a very impressive scorer. You put him next to Steph, you put him next to Giannis. If I'm a team, maybe you call.
He's back in Toronto. Would you be willing to make?
No, I'm saying.
Why? Would you be willing to call the Clippers
absolutely not.
And say, hey, I would make this deal?
I think you explore. I think if you're one of these other teams who came away empty in the offseason and you didn't get LeBron James, think about the Detroit Pistons. They have all these salary cap exceptions that they can make, and they struck out in free agency.
I think it's too much risk.
The question is, if the risk is there, does that mitigate what the trade value is? Can you get Kawhi?
It absolutely would.
At a lower price? Because think about the Clippers have gone full in on going young.
Yeah, but in which case, why would the Clippers deal him if the price is that much lower? You just wait for resolution and
but if you get
revisit at the trade deadline.
He comes back
You
to
explore
the Clippers. Sure. He comes back to the Clippers, Perk. Let's say you get a resolution, he comes back to the Clippers. The Clippers then have to face the question of, do you want to play someone who's had injuries over the years? And then that could be another risk that you're taking a look at.
Yeah, and then you would try to find a new home for him up until the trade deadline. Think about it, right? You're talking about a guy that the reason that Kawhi Leonard, one of the reasons that they want. One of the reasons that they want to trade him is because they don't want to give him a contract extension. Well, if I'm Golden State, I'm actually hoping this deal does get called off and I get to monitor this situation, because if Kawhi Leonard goes back to the Clippers, if I'm Golden State, then I'm picking up the phone and I'm seeing what's up with Kawhi Leonard, because Golden State don't have time to waste. Like, Steph Curry is 39 years old. Steph Curry played at an all-NBA level last year when he was available. Steph Curry needs another dude on the side of him. We don't know what Jimmy Butler is going to look like. So, again, it's an investigation. I feel like they should hurry up, but I know it's a lot of things, a lot of T's that has to be crossed, a lot of I's that has to be dotted. And Vinny said it best. We're talking about Steve Ballmer, one of the richest men in America. You know what I mean? So when it comes to getting a lawyer to fight against anybody, I know he's prepared.
I think that the NBA very much wants to get this right. And I think there's a lot of attention on it, and they can look at, does the NBA want to do this? And they want to start, they want to go. I think the NBA wants to get this right. People have said to me all throughout that Adam Silver has forecast that in all his comments about how the burden of proof is on the league, that we're going to follow the facts. They want to be thorough so that at the end of the day, this process can look